Hello everyone, welcome to the Old Man and the Read. My name is Jerry. A couple of weeks ago I put out the last video of my channel. In it I announced I was going to quit, but I gave it a catchy title, and evidently that kicked in some algorithm so that all of a sudden I started getting lots of views, and I've gotten lots of requests from people to continue doing my videos now. So I guess I'll continue for a while. I did a video following that titled 77 books that could have been in my 77 best books like a week or so ago, and then somebody in a comment said that he can't wait until I do the 77 books that could have been in the 77 books that could have been in the 70 or in the best 77 books or something like that. And so I thought that was a good idea, so I started gathering books, and I came up with 77 and way more than 77. So I thought what I'll do is just start posting videos of favorite books, maybe like 25 at a time or something like that, and then just continue until I've done that, and then see what where we go from there. But so these are going to be just books that I come across that I want to talk about. There's no particular order in them. I don't know. They're just books that I've really enjoyed, and starting probably the next video I'll start including some of the authors that I've talked about before, because what I've been trying to do is just keep one author, just one author in each video. But I've got some of these authors that they're just incredible writers, and I could basically show all of their books at once. But so anyway, with that, I'll start showing you the books that I've got. I've got 25 books for this video, and the first book I have is The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. And this is a short story collection, but they're all connected stories about the realities of war, and they begin with just a person or somebody getting a draft notice and realizing they're going to be eventually going to war, and then the stories progress into actual combat stories, and then a couple of stories about returning back to civilization and the problems that occur after that. The next book is Everything Flows by Vasily Grossman, and this is about a man who has returned to civilization after spending 30 years in a Russian Gulag prison camp. And the book captures just the desperation and despair and just the hopelessness of those that are imprisoned in those camps. Next book is Hiroshima by John Hersey. Really a great book of essays. It follows 6 people who are survivors from the Hiroshima atomic bomb, and it tells what they were doing when the bomb dropped, how they survived, and then follows through afterwards the following days and months. Next book is A Lesson Before Dying by Ernest J. Gaines. Really, Gaines, I've read several of his books, and this is really the best, I think. But it follows, this takes place in 1940s Louisiana, and follows a young black man who got a ride with a couple of men that put him in the wrong place at the wrong time. They had stopped to commit a robbery, leaving him in the car, and in the robbery there was a shootout and several people killed, including the two men that he was with. So he was arrested and put on trial for robbery and murder, even though he hadn't actually committed any of the crimes. And the story is about his aunt's attempts to try to have him keep his dignity, even though they knew it was going to end in an execution. The next book is Lord Grizzly by Frederick Manfred, and this is really an incredible adventure story that actually is based on a true story. But it's about a mountain man who is just horrifically mauled by a grizzly bear. His companions then leave him to die, and they take all of his possessions basically with them. But the man continues to survive and eventually is able to crawl back to civilization, like 200 miles, on 2 arms and 1 knee, and eventually reach safety. Next book is The Netanyahus by Joshua Cohen. This is really a very humorous, almost outrageously funny story. But it's about a professor in a small college in a small town, and his is the only Jewish family in that small town. So the college enlists him to help in the recruitment of a new prospect for the college, and that was Benzion Netanyahu. And it's just an outrageously funny story that follows. The next book I have is The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. I think by far, or not by far, but really his best book. But this follows a very proper English butler, and it's about his life in service to Darlington Hall. And the story is narrated by that butler, and the book, I think, illustrates Ishiguro's just incredible talent for writing books in the persona of the protagonists themselves. And so this book is narrated in a very proper English manner. The next book is The Thief and the Dogs by Naguib Mahfouz. And it's kind of a disturbing story, but it's about a man who's released from prison after several years, and he then wants to seek revenge. And he sets out to kill the man who married his former wife, and then a man who was a friend of his before he went to prison, who became wealthy while he was in prison. The next book is The Night Watchman by Louise Erdrich. I've read a number of Erdrich's books, and I think this is my favorite. But there's 2 storylines going through the book, and one of them is based on on Erdrich's own grandfather. And it's about a man who sets out to try to or who fights a resolution that's in Congress to eliminate or terminate 5 tribes in the country. And then the other storyline just follows a young girl who is looking for her missing sister. The next book is The Obscene Bird of Night by Jose Donoso. And this is really an incredibly twisted and very meandering story, but it's narrated by a man who is the secretary of a wealthy man whose son is born with severe deformities, and the son is then put into confined into an estate for people with deformities and left in the care of the secretary. But it's just a bewildering tale that Donoso has written. The next book is Paradise by Abdullah Razak Gurna. This is about a young boy who's put into servitude to a man named, or they call Uncle Aziz, and that's to pay off a debt that his father had. And it follows him, and then when he grows up, he goes on just a very adventurous trading mission with that Uncle Aziz. The next book is Chinamen by Maxine Hong Kingston. This is a short story collection, and they're all about the history of Chinese immigrants to America. Almost all of the immigrants were male, and they came to America looking for a better life, but the harsh realities soon appeared for them. The next book is Allegria by Giuseppe Ungarati. Exceptional collection of short poems, and what's very unique is the poems were all written while he was in the trenches during World War I. Next book is Interpreters of Maladies by Jhumpa Lahiri. Incredible writer, but just not very prolific. I've read pretty much everything she's written. But this is a collection of just really outstanding short stories, and her real skill is just making fully developed characters in her short stories. Okay, the next is nonfiction. This is Europe Between the Oceans by Barry Cunliffe, and this is just a very dense and but very readable book full of information, and it's basically about the history of Europe from 9000 BCE to 1000 AD. The next book is Oblivion by Sergei Lebedov. A fabulous writer. I just found him a few years ago. So there really isn't a lot of his books out there, but he writes in very extremely poetic prose. And this is a book about a man who searches for the mysterious past of a man he had befriended when he was just a boy, and he had called the man Grandfather 2. The next book is basically a classic, but it's one of my favorite books of all time. But this is The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway, and it's really just about the incredible story of an old fisherman who catches a huge marlin, and then about his attempts to bring it back to shore, struggling with sharks the whole way. Okay, another nonfiction, but one of those types of books that I don't really, I have to confess, really understand, but I just love reading about it. And this is What is Time, What is Space by Carlo Rovelli. And it's pretty much almost incomprehensible for me, but this is where he's explaining how general relativity, in order to be combined with quantum mechanics, he says that space must have a granular structure. And since space is the gravitational field, then gravity must be granular. And so space is just a network of grains, and if time and space form a single entity, then time does not exist. That's kind of what I got from this book, and if you understand it, good for you, because I didn't. The next book is Education by Stone, written by Geo Cabral de Melo Neto. Just an exceptional good book of poetry, and the poems are all about objects and things, and each poem brings out different factors that we normally don't associate with those objects. The next book is Marumbi by Boubacar Boris Diop. Just really an exceptional story, but very disturbing. It's based around the Rwanda genocide, in which over 1 million people were murdered, mostly by machete. The next book is A Prayer for Owen Meany by John Irving. This is a kind of a really strange story, but it's told from the first person by a young boy named John about his friend Owen Meany. And Owen's just really kind of a strange little guy, and he, during a Little League baseball game, hit the ball, the only hit he had his entire Little League career, and that ball, when it hit the mother of John and actually killed her. And the story just goes on from there. Just it becomes stranger and stranger. The next book is The Years, Months, Days by Jan Lianka. And this is 2 novellas in one. The title story is about a man who stays behind in his village to during a severe drought, when all of the other villagers have left, and he finds one living grain and tries to preserve it. And the other story is about a mother who is trying to marry off her disabled children. The next book is The Little Ice Age by Brian M. Fagan. And this is about a very cold period, almost a mini ice age, that occurred from 1300 to 1850. And this is about how it affected historical events. Next book is Mink River by Brian Doyle. And this follows the lives of a few residents of a very small coastal community in Oregon. And there really is no plot. It's just stories about various events and some of the strange characters in the community. And I think probably one of the reasons I really like this book is I grew up in a small coastal community in Oregon and kind of identified with some of the stories they were talking about. And the last book I have to show is Cosmicomics by Italo Calvino. Fabulous writer, wrote some great books, but this is a collection of short stories, and they're basically comedy of the absurd. But the stories are all based on the history of the universe and the beginnings of time. But it was written in 1965, and the thing that stood out to me most while reading this was the enormous amount of information that we've learned since 1965. So it's a little dated, but it's just really a very entertaining book. So those are the books, 25 that I wanted to talk about. My next video will probably be about another 25. So I want to thank you for watching the video, and maybe I'll see you next time. Thanks.